Stephen Hawking, astrophysicist and arguably one of the smartest people on the planet, warned us about the possibility of aliens from outer space.
Hawking says that if extraterrestrials visit us, the outcome might be similar to when Columbus landed in America. In other words, it didn't turn out too well for Native Americans.
You just get tired of the real meat and potatoes, the real issues. So he's gone for all the ridiculous Hollywood stuff of David Icke and the blood-drinking lizard people. So what does David Icke do? He talks about the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, these global elitists, these power structures, all real, all true, all demonstrated by bills and executive orders and prime ministers and premiers and presidents. All real meat and potatoes, something you can bite into. Something that is easily demonstratable. And then you've got David Icke at the end of all this. He says, by the way, they're blood-drinking lizards.
It is said that the light code frequencies of the star cluster constellation, now listen carefully, here's a little something for them to go run and tell. In the book called the Enoch, the Book of Enoch, which was written by this white man named J.J. Hurtak, with financing from the Rockefeller Foundation. This book I read about 10, 15 years ago. Powerful book, but none of my brothers and sisters could understand it. I didn't even understand it, but I kept reading it. And there were some things in there that I know they know what's going on. They've studied our information. He says he got it from Enoch, which gave him, you know, white folks got this thing where they want to pretend that they didn't get it from us. So they got it from some spirit that gave it to them. Yeah. That's that New Age bullshit. They like to tell you somebody else told them. Yeah. Well, who was it? Oh, it was a spirit that talked to me at night, and Enoch said. Well, hell, Enoch was black. So you can't get away from that. So in it, trying to remember what he was saying, I put this down. I says, the light code frequency of a star cluster known as Alpha Draconis represents the star grid system program that is entropic in nature. Entropic means that it sucks energy, that it leaves a void of energy, that causes certain energies to want to come to it. But it's entropic, it sucks the life force out of you. Like, you know, sometimes you get close to certain Caucasians, if you're around too much, you wonder why you're feeling tired. Or when you're around certain people, not just Caucasians, because there's a bunch of Negroes out there that be sucking your life force too. But there is a vampiric energy that creates an entropic feeling in you because you're feeding something that they lack. See what I'm saying? So there is right now a huge entropic energy called Alpha Draconis. And now the ancestors spoke deeply about this, because they spoke about being devoured by the dragon. Alpha Draconis. Okay? But that Alpha Draconis essentially is a star constellation that sucks consciousness. Okay? That's how it feeds. Now, as a result, it is said to devour all consciousness potential and keep planispheres like Earth chained or locked into the entropy of singular sun systems. In other words, we had, at another time, back 30 years ago, you know, you were there taping this, people thought it was crazy. There were at least two suns in our star system. One that was magnetic, one that was electric. Problem is, the other one got knocked out of our field of vision, and it turns when we turn. So we don't see it. And that's why they've been sending all these things to the sun. And sometimes we're not seeing our sun. You see what I'm saying? So at this point right now, we're looking at the sun, and where we are in conjunction with the sun, if it's a singular sun, it causes problems for us. This is an electrical sun, and it causes some deep problems for us. So now, the singular sun system causes consciousness to be, depreciated. This causes the collective consciousness signal bands of our species consciousness, because as a collective species, as we think and as we are emoting, we create an energy field that is not only of our own singular one, that is like our aura, but it collectively coats the earth. So all of the billions and billions of people thinking and feeling sets up an energy grid around the planet. Okay? Now that energy grid around the planet is being devoured when we get into certain like certain times of the year or certain areas where you begin to start seeing the effects of that, with people at war, people killing one another, people getting angry, getting shot, things like that. It's when your higher consciousness just turns down to the lower, and the dragon begins to devour all of your higher energy consciousness.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. The next chapter in the Star Wars saga, Return of the Jedi. The battle between good and evil rages on. Join the further adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando Calrissian, Chewbacca, C-3PO and R2-D2, and Darth Vader. A journey to alien worlds. It's a problem. A rebellion against oppression. An epic of heroes and villains. An adventure as vast as the universe. Return of the Jedi. Coming to a selected theater in your galaxy.
And what we're seeing in Star Wars is not fiction at all, but in fact is supposed to be our own history, laid out in the form of the information and technology brought back and kept secret for over 40 years by the Apollo missions to the moon. That George Lucas is not an instant boy wonder who just happened to write the right script and get the right deal and hit the public with the right, classical, archetypal, metaphorical, whatever. But in fact, he has been part of Brookings' careful cultural conditioning, called for in the Brookings Report over 40 years ago, that we needed to be acclimated to this stunning reality before the reality could be made real. And the reason he is being honored tonight with a mission that had to be launched on time to commemorate his first film is because George Lucas is a key part of our being brought up the curve, and at some point, someone somewhere is going to kind of leak out that this, in fact, is real. But that's part of the Jedi, the Return of the Jedi motif, which is why it's not a 1977 lightsaber, it's from the Return of the Jedi film, which is part of the mythos under which they are all living and in which they devoutly, and I don't use that term accidentally, which they devoutly, with all their 19.5s and 33s and 120s and all that, believe. That is what I think is going on. in which case what Vladimir Putin is doing in sending 4 Russian networks to cover our press conference and Ken Johnston blowing the whistle on what's been going on all these decades becomes incredibly interesting. We are all part of a geopolitical galactic psychodrama, which is not long and a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but is talking about us in a solar system of a few million years ago, to which we are now cultural refugees, desperately trying to figure out our piece in this grand galactic puzzle.
Pandora, a world of wonder and mystery, incredible danger and strange beauty. From Earth's southern hemisphere, you can see the solar system where Pandora is located. Alpha Centauri. At a distance of 4.4 light-years from Earth, the Alpha Centauri system is our nearest stellar neighbor. The largest of its 2 sun-like stars, Alpha Centauri A, or ACA to astronomers, is Pandora's sun.
Well, you know, I had a chance to see Avatar. My wife and I had a chance to go see Avatar. And there's so much in that movie. I got to hand it to Cameron, though. That's the one thing. Everybody's trashing him. But I think we came to the conclusion after we got out there that it would not have had the impact that it did had them people been black or brown. Because immediately the cognitive dissonance of the collective white psyche would have shut down and not learned a damn thing. But once they took the black people and made them blue and put everything else African on them and then put a Navajo dialect in their mouth, it became something different that they paid attention to. It got so deep that this movie made $1 billion in less than a week. In less than a week. And this was not even for the international showing. So now what you got to do is people are looking at it and they're saying, yeah, it's the same story everywhere we go, but there is a deep metaphysics. I'm going to drop it when I come to New York, what the whole thing is about. But the metaphysics about that movie is showing that white folks going to be typically white folks no matter where the hell they go in the universe. And you cannot change the spots of the leopard. And whatever it is that you're doing, if you do not commit yourself to be counter to whatever it is that they give to you, the education, whatever it is, the little baubles and so forth, if you do not know that he is what he is going to be, the test, the disease, the one who pretends that he brings with one hand beneficence, but actually brings pestilence and plagues with the other, he is going to be him. You can't blame him for who he is. You can't blame a dog for barking, because a dog has to bark. So what you have to look at is what it is he is. And Cameron did that to the point where the Pope had to come out and speak against it. That's how deep the movie became. So the whole movie, as far as the Haitians are concerned, when they went and started ripping down the houses and tearing down the trees and everything, ain't that typical? What else is new about him? What was really new was what it is that they showed, that his particular way of being is at an end. No matter how much power you see coming at him, that in the end, he is going to exhaust himself by who he is, not what he is given to us, by who he is, you see. So the blue people, or those people called the Na'vi, are indicative of all indigenous and autochthonous peoples around the planet who are eventually going to be the ones inheriting the earth, but not after this man does everything to bring it to the point of complete extinction.